Controlled Chaos with your hosts, Liz and Allie.
I'm Liz, the writer.
And I'm Allie, the publicist.
We are your quintessential 40-something besties who dive headfirst into all things pop culture.
Think motherhood, relationships, hot stories taking over your newsfeed, and of course, the latest gripping true crime mysteries.
This is Controlled Chaos, your much-needed weekly pop culture juice.
Drink up. Okay, everybody, welcome back to another episode of
Controlled Chaos. Here we are.
Right before we got on this episode to record, we were having a lovely conversation about our husbands and resentment and
resentment and our kids not sleeping and how smart our kids and how we can't fool them. Like, we'll have to do a whole episode about how, like, the things you make up to your kids that they're just like seeing right through.
Anyway, along with all these conversations and the resentment of the husbands came the topic of just cheesy romantic rom-coms.
This is how we unwind from our resentment. We got on the topic of the new Anne Hathaway movie, right? Like the new one that she came out with, and I just already forgot what is it?
It's called The Idea of You.
The Idea of You. She dates like a Harry Styles guy. I read that it's not really supposed to be based off him, but it's the parallels are there. He's British.
But is that name not so perfectly on par for life? I'd much rather love and fall in love with the idea of you than the actual.
I think I'm gonna be totally honest. I think my biggest, I do that all the time. That's what I do. I think a lot of people do that. We fall in love with an idea because no person is what and rom-coms, let's just be totally frank, are a big problem as far as thinking what ideas are true and what are real, what we fall in love with. I mean, it does, you know what it is? It's like the equivalent of what porn is for men. Men think sex is going to be like porn, and we think our romance is going to be like a rom-com. You know what movie I watched the other day, speaking of that? Have you ever seen Don John? That movie
I love that movie.
It's actually really smart. It's a movie Joseph Gordon-Levitt wrote himself, and it's about someone who has a porn addiction and how he can't physically connect with women because he doesn't lose himself the way he does porn, which I actually think is extremely common with men, more than it's even talked about. But same with, it's different, but with rom-coms and women, we are kind of getting a false sense of reality there. It's not real. It's not real, but it seems real.
I finally watched The Idea of You. First of all, I was so locked into the love scenes and the romance scenes and finding myself just the idea of you.
I was too. Yeah, I was too.
I literally finished the movie and went back and rewatched all the steamy, passionate chemistry scenes, which is what you're saying. It's like porn addiction. I found myself just daydreaming of I hate to do this on a show where
you say it.
I don't want my husband to feel like he's not enough, but it's fuck, man. The way he was kissing her in that movie and the way she just shivers her body and takes the end.
Does anyone ever have that? Is that last night, a movie I also watched it. I'm with you. I rewatched certain things. I don't even like this movie, but A Star is Born. And there's this one scene after they have, I mean, I like it okay, but I wasn't it's not the end all be all. But I liked it. The one scene where they have sex and they're just lying there and he's just running her finger on her face. I'm no one does that. No one's doing that. Are they? Are any married couples doing that? Are you doing that?
No. And if I don't think I've
ever done that. I don't think I've ever just lied in bed naked after having sex and just been dripping my hands over somebody. And I was watching that and I'm is something wrong with me or something wrong with this movie that's making me feel like something's wrong with me? Which one is it?
There have to be people doing it. I mean, you hear about these people who talk about their relationships I'm in maybe, you know what I was thinking last night while I was watching this? I was everyone goes into relationships for different reasons. And weren't you ever, when you were in your 20s, you lusted after someone and the sex?
In my 20s, even in my 30s,
my early 20s, 30s, whatever. The lust was so hard. And you were finding yourself looking at their picture all the time in your phone and you were obsessing. But can you have that and also have a legitimate, real relationship? Can those two things go together? Because that's where I think it's not an issue.
Or
because that's this movie.
Yeah.
The lust is so hot and heavy. And even in the beginning, you're oh, this is definitely a fling. This can't go anywhere. They're beyond that being 16 years apart, beyond that, and beyond his lifestyle being so drastically different from hers. There's no way in hell there's more depth to this relationship than just like the idea of them, which is the
And
idea.
it would be way more believable. That's right there where what you just pinpointed is the problem with rom-coms. They're teaching us or showing us in a false way that your best friend can also be the best sex of your life, can also be like this
Oh my God.
lusty, like your best friend is also like, and what you learn as an adult.
Did you just crack the code?
I cracked it. I've cracked it. Okay. Because in real life, like you just said, I actually think you started to crack it first because this is like a double crack, like a double cracked walnut here. Because in real life, I think maybe you start out with a little lust, right? But then personally, I think it's better to marry your best friend than it is because the lust stuff does fade. But in these rom-coms, it's always both forever. So you're kind of made to feel like a failure if like your relationship is lacking that lust or it's lacking the friendship. One of them is not there. It's almost impossible to keep both fueling at all cylinders. But these movies make it seem like it is.
But why is it impossible? Why can't you be?
Because
Why?
I'm saying it's impossible. Like you don't like lust for your spouse or significant other anymore. It's just that all the time. I don't know that passion sustainable all the time is not realistic with like life. I don't know.
Is it because we're in the weeds of like having little kids right now and we're just like not
maybe
like
things ebb and flow. I definitely think that. It's like I think that we'll like, and I'm not like very attracted to my husband, something like that. It's just like, but the way rom-coms show us, it's like this like best, most romantic, most incredible, intense connection of your life. Also, this guy's so emotionally supportive and he listens to everything you say.
okay, he's so emotionally supportive, following her around. By the way, we're her age. Did she not make you feel so incredibly old and decrepit and geriatric because she's got like,
Yeah.
she's perfect. She's got this great job, but her kid is basically grown up. She has the most perfect relationship with her daughter. That you're just like,
that's the
is
other
that
thing.
real?
Let's get to the other things that rom-coms do. Let's just get out of the relationships for a second, okay? Besides the fact that you're also, having the best sex ever with your best friend, he's emotionally supportive. You can communicate like everything, right? If they fight, even their fighting was healthy. I mean, it's ridiculous. None of that is real life. Then you have the perfect. And we talked about this a lot in text. I mean, this wasn't a Nancy Meyer movie, but let's look at her home and her life for a second. She has this gallery in this great little town. Her home is unbelievable. Like it's almost like that no makeup look where like it looks like it's not a big deal, but everything's like perfect. It's like it costs a lot
It
of
looks
money.
cluttered, but not cluttered. It's like there's stuff everywhere, but it's perfectly designed.
There's that saying, it costs a lot of money to look like you're not wearing makeup because there's like a lot of products that go into that to make, and that's like kind of what her life is like. Her style is perfect. Relationship with her daughter is perfect. It's just nothing is off. And like, it just makes us, I mean, it's setting us up to fail. I mean, I love, but then yet, why do we like to watch them and release ourselves in this fake narrative? Because I do. And the other one I watched was that Sydney Sweeney one. I watched that one too.
I rewatched all the sex scenes in that one. Not that there's that many, but there's a lot of moments.
That was a little cheesier, kind of, but it was kind of funnier too. It's like a little
The
bit
acting
different.
wasn't as good, of course.
No. I mean, and like no 24-year-old in a band is gonna be that emotionally mature. I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's the other thing. This guy is like so not like his other bandmates that are all like assholes and getting in trouble and like creating stirring problems and have young teens on the tour with them.
But that's accurate. That's how they would be.
That's how it is.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And even if he wasn't in a band, no 24-year-old is that emotionally mature.
Okay, well, wait. Then how do you explain a relationship then like a Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde? Which, by the way, the reason that
it went real south. I mean,
well, but we don't know what really actually happened behind closed doors. But we do know that she's very famous. Maybe not at the levels of his fame, but like it's not like in this scenario, it was two worlds colliding, right? Anne Hathaway lives in like a.
Anne Hathaway wasn't famous at all.
No,
and like he was like a Harry Styles. Olivia Wilde is very famous.
And by the way, Anne Hathaway in the movie, what was her name? It's like some really cool French name, like Sabine.
Solane or Solène or something like that. Yeah.
He didn't even get phased at all by like paparazzi or like the fact that
this guy. It's like she's been handling it forever.
Right. Like I would be like freaking out if
she's like, we're all just gonna get off social media. It's fine. And she walked with her thing. She's like, oh, I mean, like she didn't care they're outside her gallery. You're right. She just
and okay, let's also talk about like the cheesy montage scenes. Like once they decide they're gonna do this, and like they talk with the daughter and they're like, it's gonna be hard. There's gonna be a firestorm. And then like the next scene is like Anne Hathaway and Nick Galitzine, whatever his name is, eating ice cream out of pints in the bed and like walking down the street holding like arms around each other, like looking at art. And I'm like, no, First of all, neither of those two are eating pints of ice cream in bed like that.
No, no,
By the way,
especially
have you
her.
ever done that with your husband?
No. Do you want to know the last time my husband and I have even gone to the bed at the same time? Like it's been years. Oh my years. Maybe our whole relationship. He doesn't go to. I get in bed as soon as I get in my bed like at 9 o'clock, maybe earlier. Like I see these couples on movies and like where they like pull down the bed and they get in bed together. I have never done that with my husband in my life. In my life.
Has your husband propped you up on the table and started making out with you and put your hands on the glass windows behind you and like you're
If
him?
he had done that, things would be a lot better. Like things would be, no. I mean, in the early days of dating him, 2 thumbs up, but like that lasted for like, I used to always say that like I could tell when he started to fall in love with me. 2 or 3 months in, all of a sudden he like doesn't want to hurt me. And like, let's just make love. And I'm like, oh, fuck, you must love me because like he
Don't
didn't
want
give
to
a
call
shit.
fucking anymore. Yeah.
He didn't give a shit before. I'm like, you don't care if you left a bruise on me. You had sex with me like you were dating me, and now it's totally different.
I feel like for years Mitch was like obsessed, and now all of a sudden, and it's probably because I'm so mean to him. He's definitely like
You say that, but I don't know if I believe you that you're that
no,
mean.
I am
Like,
so mean to him, and he like is definitely turning a corner now. Like I call him out, like he'll come in and he doesn't kiss me, and I'm like, you're not in love with me anymore.
Ryan, I don't think that Ryan and I have actually kissed in like a week. I mean, like we don't really like each other right now.
Okay, which is fair, right? And I think also like we have the same problem every other day. We don't like each other. The fighting. It's again, I think it's par for the course with like toddlers.
We're in the throes of it right now. We're just lucky
We're in
we'll
the
go
throes of
live.
it.
But these rom-coms, I'm sitting in there. So for Mother's Day, I told him I wanted him to watch this movie. That's what I asked for Mother's Day. By the way, how sad is that? And then I ended up just watching it by myself, and I preferred it that way because the whole time he just be making fun of it. So I'm like, I just got in bed and watched it.
Every time I watch any of these movies and I say, please watch from this time to this time, the steamy shower scene, I need you to reenact that with me. Thank you.
That's nice. That's good feedback.
And I'm going to give him because he hasn't seen the Anne Hathaway movie yet. What's it called again? Oh my God, I keep forgetting.
The idea of you. I know it's one of those titles. It's like, it's a saying, but it's like not.
And the chemistry is so important, the off the charts chemistry. Like when the movie first started, I was like, do they have chemistry? Because that really makes or breaks it, right? Like,
yeah,
they had chemistry.
They totally did. And like I liked him. Although at the end, what's funny when he aged and came back, he wasn't as cute.
Well, they like fixed his hair, but
He looked a little scraggly.
But I watched that last 10 seconds like 20 times fold when he walks into the art gallery and she turns and she's like welling up a little bit walking out and she looks stunning and he turns around and he has this just like beautiful half grin of like been 5 years in here and it ends with the gasp.
Let's talk about how often that happens. Okay, 5 years go by, neither one of them is in a relationship. He's also 5 years of being Harry Styles famous, and the guy's like
Harry Styles famous on talk shows, touring the world.
And on the talk show, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to LA. There's someone I want to see." It's like he had a timer on his clock saying the 5 years is up. Get fucking real.
And she's still laying there 5 years later, welling up. I guess it's more believable for her to be waiting for him. She's 40 something.
And she looks exactly the same. Doesn't even have a gray hair. I mean,
yeah. 5 years later in your 40s, your kid's off in college. And I guess that's the time when maybe you don't get as many gray hairs because you're not as stressed.
I guess that's true. But I mean, none of that's real. It's not real. We just think it is. And then you're just making look at your relationship.
That scene where they're in the south of France and all the girls are like at the pool and she looked so good in her one piece, yet decides to cover, which just back to body dysmorphia. And then I'm like, fuck, man, do I have bad body dysmorphia? I'm like, I look at them and I think I'm disgusting.
I know. She looked amazing. She looked better than all those girls.
Phenomenal.
Those girls weren't even that cute. And like, she looked prettier than them. They could have made it way more of a discrepancy. She was much prettier than them.
Much prettier than them. But then it brings me back to like, how often are you looking in the mirror and going, I like you. You look really pretty. Like, why is it so hard for us to like ourselves? Why is body
a really sad thought? But if I'm ever looking at myself in the mirror naked, I don't think I've ever said that to myself.
Never. I've never been like, oh.
I've never looked at myself like that, where I've just been like, no. I mean, I'll look myself with like an outfit on that I like, a cute outfit.
Works.
But I will never look at myself just like completely and like think it's okay. And I don't think I ever have.
Let's get deep here. What do you say to yourself when you look at yourself in the mirror naked?
I just look at myself and look at everything I don't like. And like I say it in my head, just being like, ugh. Like I just like I look at like the things I don't like about myself. I just don't find it. That's very sad. It's not a good way to treat yourself.
Well, I recently I was listening to something or watching something and I realized I truly have body dysmorphia. Like it doesn't matter. And we can blame society and magazines and models and social media and all these things, but like deep down inside, like we're both very pretty women. We've got great personalities. We have men that adore us. Why can't we look in the mirror and just be like, fuck, you're awesome. You're badass. You're hot.
I don't know, and I can do that about a lot of other aspects of my life, but somehow with that, it's been harder, especially after having babies. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
dude, you're so saggy everywhere. 2 C-sections and just like breastfeeding twice. I look at myself, I'm like, everything on you is just droopy. You're a droopy dog.
And of course, like down the line, a plastic surgery could fix these things and make you
Oh, I
feel.
want to lift. They've just deflated,
I can't get rid of the fupa on top of my C-section. And
I don't think I'll ever get rid of that because I think it's just that's what it is. After, especially after C-section, there's just like that collection of scar tissue.
And there is. And now every time I have anything sweet, it just goes directly there. It just keeps building there. It's like no matter how much weight I lose anywhere else, it just.
I've been like that my whole life. I can lose weight everywhere except my stomach. It's always been the place that's hard. Yeah.
You're right. It is scar tissue, though. I think you're right. I think a lot of it has to do with the scar tissue and like the way that the body reforms and reshapes there.
Yeah. But then like you said, like, and that's another thing. We look at like a movie like this where she's our age exactly. And she's a model looking and model life, model relationship with her daughter, with her, with this amazing Harry Styles guy. It's just like
handled her divorce so well. And like, even though she says it was so hard for
that
her.
guy, oh, he was awful.
And look at anyone but you with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. Like Sydney Sweeney in this movie has no job. She's like in law school, yet she's dressed to the nines. She quits law school. She's dressed to the nines all the time. She looks perfect even when she's soaking wet.
She is so hot. I mean,
oh my God, that shower scene and the boob.
Well, she's also, I forget how young she is. She's like 24 or 5.
I forget that too. I know.
Like I actually forgot. I Wikipedia'd her after this. I'm like, she is so young. Like that's a lot of her hotness right there. She's young. Like she's got those big perky boobs. She's just, but her body is like just fully insane.
You know who else I'm kind of like obsessed with and vicariously living through ever since like the Vanity Fair after party and Coachella and seeing all their videos is, and I didn't even know who she was before she started dating Barry Keoghan. I don't know how to say his last name. He's the guy from Saltburn and has been in a bunch of other movies like the reindeer.
I've still never seen that.
Okay, you got to see Saltburn, but he's been dating Sabrina Carpenter, who's like Miss Pop Star It Girl right now. She's got a couple of famous songs. I had no idea who she was until Coachella.
I don't know who this is.
Now I'm kind of into her. She's got 2 or 3 hit songs.
Oh, I just Googled her.
And you Google them together and like they don't seem like they're serious with each other. He's got like a toddler baby with another woman that he like just broke up with now that he's super famous. Like, of course, you're done with the old and but he's like traveling all over the world with her, like how like Travis Kelce travels on with Taylor on her Eras tour. This guy's because she opened for Taylor Swift.
He's very weird looking, this guy.
He's got this like old school, like pinup, like look at him. So I get back to these and then I see these movies and then I imagine, oh, Sabrina Carpenter and Barry must have this like insanely hot, like love affair. Like they go back to the hotel room, no care in the world. She just got off stage. They're like ordering room service and having passionate love and just like looking in the mirror at how hot they both are. And I'm just like, but this is reality. These people. Is that reality? I'm like, it is.
I don't know. I see that, but that's always where I'm left after watching this, like asking myself, is my reality just that bad or off, or that on, or is it somewhere in the middle? I don't know, but like,
or is it just like you have to be a celebrity and have all of these things are celebrities living lives like this? Because I know they love to say celebrities just like us, but like if you have all the money in the world, all the plastic surgery in the world, you can get whatever you want, anyone you want.
All the money in the world to do anything is, I think, the biggest thing. We have all the money in the world, you can look amazing.
You are sex like Anne Hathaway and Nick Galitzine.
Maybe you are, but man, I can't even get my husband to go to bed at the same time as me. So these people are really making me feel like really bad about myself.
All right, you know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm going to report back to you on our next episode. Mitch and I have a date night tonight with another couple, and I'm going to try really hard not to be mean all night. I'm also try to be really sexy and kiss him a lot, and I'm going to see how that helps because maybe I'm the problem, like we were saying.
Probably me too.
I want you to try something today too.
Okay, tell me what it is.
Okay, I want you, when you see Ryan, instead of just instantly like barking a command at him or like telling him something stupid, I want you to just grab him and like passionately kiss him and see what happens.
Oh my God.
Just do it. And we're going to put back on this on the next episode. Okay, guys?
Okay. We'll report back.
Okay, on the next episode, we're going to talk about how my date night went if I had steamy hot sex, and you're going to talk about
Lead by kissing and doing
yes,
more
and what
affectionate stuff
happens
and see where it
after.
leads me. Yeah, and not have a standoff. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode. Sorry if it got a little depressing, but I guess this is just life and reality, right? Is that we all live in these bubbles and are dealing with our own problems, and then we go into our fantasy world of whether it be online porn or rom-coms, which are our version of online porn. So I'm sure that a lot of you can relate out there. And so we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll continue to keep you updated because you know what? Maybe we'll implement some of these practices into our own lives and we'll see if they work. Maybe it's just all a mental game and we just need to shift the way we're thinking and looking at our partners and, you know, taking all the negatives and tossing them out the window and instead focusing on how wonderful life can be, right? So we'll leave you with that and we'll see you on another episode of Control Chaos. See ya.